Channel 10.
Hello, Channel 10 podcast listeners. We have a bit of a public service announcement before we get into this dope conversation with Brace Saga. If you listen on iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher, we need you guys to subscribe and like and rate and comment. By doing that, you help us to reach a greater audience, get the numbers up, and allow us to keep delivering this dope content to you. So please go and do that. Rate, subscribe, listen on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher. Also, as always, this episode is brought to you by Audible. Through Audible, you can get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial by going to audibletrial.com/channel10. There you'll have over 180,000 audiobook titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player device. If you like listening to podcasts, you'll definitely like listening to such a wide selection of audiobooks that are out there. And also, as always, go check out channel10podcast.com where you can find all of our episodes, our articles, and also you can find all of our social media contacts to hit us up on there. And also, you can support the podcast by shopping through our Amazon link, which is at the top. So with no further ado, public service announcement over. Let's get into the show.
We used to be like CNN Channel 10. And we used to think that people would catch on. But if you're not from Queens, if you don't got Time Warner or whatever, like, well, I didn't know that.
Yo, word up, man. It's a different channel, son. Word up, on, man. Word up, watch the channel, son. Different plane now, man. It's all good. Word up, all good, baby, in every hood, son. Word up, yo. CNN, Network, Channel 10. It's on again. Street niggas, it's grown men. Bold face, get in your face. Stay in place, yo, crime lace. Cats more beef than Scarface. CNN, Network, Channel 10. It's on again. Street niggas, that's grown men. Bold face, get in your face. Stay in place, yo.
Call is now being recorded.
So yeah, it's your man Artic alongside Singard. What's up?
What's going on, man?
Nothing much, and we're here with the one and only Brace Saga, who just released his Retro Future project. So how's it going?
Everything's going well. Hope all is well with you guys.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I just got the project on Amazon, and we just want to get into this a little bit. I'm definitely feeling it, and we've talked about it before, but just for your listeners, just tell us a little bit about the project.
Well, it really got a weird start. I was trying to figure out how to do like a new type of music, or at least, attempt to do a new type of music. And I started like seeing, well, you remember like how The Wiz was, right? How it was like this really like large production musical thing. So I was like, well, how would I do a musical? I was like, well, you're still a nobody, so it's going to be on a very fixed income, So I was like, all right, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the best I can with the songs, and, hopefully I'll make them vivid enough so the visuals, transfer over.
That's dope. One thing that I noticed about the project is that it's very cohesive, and I guess the thing that kind of stood out to me, and one of the things is like it starts off with Badder, and you're talking about who wants it badder, and then you end off with happy people. So it's like, you're trying to get it, you want it bad, and then you go through everything, and then at the end you're asking the question, do I deserve to be happy? And throughout it kind of tells a story, and it's interesting how you were talking about you wanted to kind of start a new type of music, being from Baltimore, it's definitely not the typical type of project that you would expect, but then you still have certain references in there, like on Charm City Catch Music, where you talk about the chicks get put on as nurses driving a Honda, so that definitely stuck out to me. And I was wondering, how Baltimore kind of influenced your whole sound on this project.
Well, it's crazy you said that. Like, when I was putting together the project, I started working on everything around the time of the Michael Brown shooting, and by the time Police Aid had wrapped up, everything with Freddie Gray had like just happened. And I'm sitting there and I was thinking to myself, like, my goal, like, realistically, if I wanted this to, be a thing was I want to be able to like donate. I got to do something. I feel like, we're discouraged from fighting back, but I feel like, I got to do something to give back and help. So I was like, well, if I can get to a point where this can generate enough money, I'm going to just try and give half to the families is, taking a hit, because like some celebrities say like, 4 or 5%, but it's like, I really want to be like someone that makes a difference, and was thinking about like catch music, like y'all remember how it was, you grew up in Baltimore, if you don't win, your parents go like, if you don't win, don't come back. And, it's crazy that you would say that to a kid, but, that's the truth. That's just life. If you don't win, you might not come back. So you have to figure out how to make your best plays. You have to figure out what's going to work and what won't. And for me, that was all that was influential on the project. It's like, how can I still tell this same story? And, like for like my nieces and nephews, how would it translate to them? Because, like people be like, well, you shouldn't tell that to kids. It's like, but I really want winners. So, it's a hard, it's a hard area to play around with, but, hopefully, people still find the joy in all of that. Even though, I was trying to cover some serious things, but be kind of like edutainment, I guess is the right phrase, like educational entertainment.
Yeah. It's interesting, like, how you can look at one thing in different ways, because, like, on the hook, when you say, if you do not get the trophy, you cannot come home, just from what I know about you and, going out and leaving to, I guess, just go out there past the city and win, it's like, I kind of took it as you kind of saying, like, that feeling of, I got to go out here and get it, because if not, I can't come back with nothing. So, was that part of it too?
Oh man, you hit that right on the head. Like one of the crazy things about Baltimore, and you learn that from being there, is it may not be like the world's greatest place, but you can't afford to live there. Like it's like an odd balance, it's very expensive, and it's like if I was to leave and do all these things, talk all this good game, I'm gonna change this and do that, and then come back empty-handed, like. That just means I didn't play any of the cards right, and it's like, I don't want to do that, like, it's a lot of people I gotta say I told you so to, and I know that sounds petty, but I know I'm not the only one that thinks that. Like, I know someone's listening right now, like, yeah, you're right, because, like I said, when it's all said and done, I'd really like a win out of all of this, like, and it's not for me, it's because we got a whole city of people who are just, they're talented with no outlets. We try and have places to do concerts at. They get shot up. We try and do venues in other places. We don't get the invite. Or even worse, we can't drive to get there. Like it's always something, So it's like, well, maybe we can change that. And I don't expect it to be like an overnight thing, but it's just something I want to actively work towards, when the opportunity presents itself. And, like all of that's it's like a big factor for all of us, Like I remember, when we were all starting to really do music for real in the city, when like before like Kane and before like Los and all of them was like really, trying to make names for themselves. It's just a bunch of cats trying to, sort their styles out, trying to figure out where they were going with it, if they were going somewhere with it and why.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh well, you talked about how you kind of wanted to make this base it around the Wiz, and so you wanted to bring this kind of, I guess, musical aesthetic to this album. So I'm assuming that you had a fascination with fairy tales, which in turn kind of you're trying to use as a way to influence other people in Baltimore.
No. In the case of Retro Future, it was, like I said, it was more about putting together a musical, not specifically like copying one musical or another, but just something where it's like when you hear it, you're like, wow, this is really, really different, but not necessarily negative. Being a person who could influence Baltimore, like, that's just as much of a privilege as it would be a burden. And at this point in my career, I don't think I would be the person that's right for it. It's because it's not wise to take on a mantle that big and, pretend you can deliver when all of that isn't, established in the forefront. So, like, realistically, like, what I would like to bring to the table, even with the, like, the way the music's structured, with it being structured like, it's structured like cabaret, like, and I know that sounds weird because I'm a dude, but I wanted to go for these outlandishly overproduced large musical numbers, because I don't want people to just listen to my music. I want you to drive and feel like you're watching it. I want, if you're on the road late at night and you listening to the CD and you pop it in, I want you to be able to finish your drive home. That was always the goal for it, was to keep you legitimately entertained. And it's not easy. Like, it's not, like, it's a lot of hard work. And I know because I know you've been doing music for a while. It's hard to figure out, what the next move's going to be and how is it going to sound.
Yeah.
Who would like it, who wouldn't. If your theory on that is right, if you can recoup from that, like, bruh, this ain't for everybody.
yeah. Like, every time you go out there, you're putting yourself out there, and you're putting yourself out there to fail, and that's not something that everybody can do, and you do it over and over again, and you just keep getting back up and coming. So I definitely feel you on that. Your mind state coming into this, I'm just curious, like, how did you first get into it? Like, how did you start doing it, and how did your mind state with it, like, music in general, just evolve?
I wish I had a good answer for this, or one that makes sense on the radio. Short answer, I just wanted something to do while I was sitting on the toilet. Long answer, I have an older brother. I wanted to do music because we didn't really have much in common. So I was like, I wanted to, start putting together something so I could have something in common, just so we could talk, And we didn't really wind up working on too much, But next thing I know, I look around, and I'm addicted to doing music, So, what's a fella to do at that point? You just keep doing it because, it wasn't nothing good on TV, At least nothing that's going to make you money right away, or nothing that's going to get you out the house.
Yeah.
So when the album was finished, did you have any difficulty with the mixing and engineering of the album, since you wanted it to be overproduced and sound like a musical?
Yeah. The crazy part is this was supposed to be finished about this time last year. But again, I'm working on a lot of theory here, you can't walk into just any studio for any reason and be like, hey, I know you guys are used to mixing rap, but, could you do me a solid and mix this in 7.1 surround sound, or like 5.1, so it sounds like you're in a movie theater? Like, asking stuff like that is crazy, but that's what I was doing. So it's like, so I'm asking, these folks for help, and they just looking at me crazy, and, they were right too. I'm not even going to stunt, because, like I said, it's like that. It's a big request. You're asking somebody to do something they haven't heard, and the only person who can hear it is you in your own head, and then for them to get it right, like, that's hard. And a lot of artists don't realize that, like, you'll go in there and be talking to, like, these producers and, the sound mixers or whatever, and you're like, nah, I want it to have this weird clink to it, because it's like you have no idea. You thought you were speaking English, but that's not what happened. You know what I'm saying? Like, and, I wound up having to, sit and I spent a lot of time on lynda.com. I spent, like, a lot of time on there, taking tutorials and watching people mix stuff on YouTube just to figure out if it was something that I could still do, and not walk away looking like an imbecile. So I was just, like I said, I was just glad I could do it, because having an idea, like something that grandiose, like stuck in your head, not being able to, like, give it to other people or share it with other people, it'll drive you nuts.
Yeah, one thing I was impressed about was just the clarity and the separation that you were able to get on certain tracks. I forget what track it was. I think it might be the title track where the kick drum was coming to the left, and usually, you know, most people would kind of put it in the center, but the way you had it, it just sounded right. I don't know if you remember. I think it was that track, but I was like, yeah, you know, this was put together really well, and then the separation between the bass and the kick drum was really good. So, you know, definitely kudos on that. And your vocals just, you know, just kind of came through the beat even when there was a lot of stuff going on.
I've been trying to go for sounding like a live band. You know, like I think one of the mistakes is. And I hope this doesn't sound like I'm being full of myself or nothing, because that's really not the impression I'm trying to give. But, you know, one of the mistakes is, like, I believe it would sound like it's more credible if it was more people working on it for longer. So, you know, because it's like if you just tell people, like, I sat there, like, we talking like 600 to 1,000 hours just, like, trying to figure out how it sounded. Like, mixing the whole thing 1 month, hating the mix, and starting over from scratch the following month like it was nothing. You know, like, you know, putting off, you know, meeting with family, putting off, you know, schoolwork, you know, missing work, you know, stuff like that, you know, because it's like this thing is so important. It's like it's driving at you. You know, and it's not a hard, you know, thing to explain to others. You know, like, it's not hard to explain to them, but it's like, you know, if you're like, yeah, you know, it was just me, I did blah, 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 they be like, oh, well, all right, you know, and it's kind of met with, you know, a little bit of hesitation. But if you was like, yeah, you know, me, 10 of the folks said blah, 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 you know, and everybody got together and we all worked on it, they were like, oh, that's dope. And then, you know, you say somebody else wrote it, so it don't look like you did it. Like, we live in the day and age of glorified hater.
Yeah, yeah.
Where it's like, you can't just do something, and you can't be good at stuff, and if you're good at stuff, you're a jerk because you're proud of it. I blame the Karate Kid. That's all.
So when you're talking to the engineers when you're mixing the songs down, do you have like a particular producer or you know, someone who's been behind the creation of musicals in your head that you tried to base the album off of?
This is gonna sound crazy, you know, but 2 Chainz. I really like 2 Chainz. Like. Like, he has a specific type of energy, you know, with his music, where it's like, it's entertaining, it's forward, he doesn't mince too many words, nothing's really wasted. And I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, you know, because I know somebody probably sitting there like, I was going to cop that album until he said that. But, you know, you know, like, I looked at the structure to how the songs are put together. And, you know, Future, the same. You know, they have, like, a very interesting, say for, like, 4 bars, it'll be like 2 short lines, 2 short lines, 2 short lines, and then a long line to finish all of those punchlines. So it's always a perfect setup delivery mechanism. And people will knock it, but it works. It's dope. Like, every single time, you're guaranteed to get something out of it. And yeah, like, I know, you know, it's cliche, but cliches are around for a reason, you know? And it's like, if we ever want to go mainstream, we have to learn how to abuse them but still stay genuine in the music. You know, like for example, if there's a gymnast, you know, and there's a specific move that she knows will get her the gold medal, you know, and she can do it, and it's not that hard, shouldn't she go for it every time?
Yeah. It's like Ronda Rousey with the armbar.
Yeah. Like, once it's in, that's it. You know, she's going to get the win. You know, but it's one of those things where we get discouraged, you know, from reacting on that. Like we don't have the right to fly.
Yeah, I can hear the 2 Chainz a little bit in some of the songs, and you know, if you're just taking a cursory listen and not really paying attention, you know, you might be listening to a song and you're thinking like, oh, this is smooth, like the song that you have, Let the Beat Go, where you use the crystal waters and all that. And like that song is like really smooth, it's really cool and everything, but then like you throw little things in there too, like how you said edutainment. So you said if they let us keep our dads in here, it might have switched up the past 10 years, and it's like those little things in there, like those are the things that I kind of catch on. So it's like it's very simple and concise, but there's a lot behind that.
Well, Let the Beat Go is a little different. Like, y'all know how it is. You go to the club, you trying to touch somebody's butt, make a little love connection for the weekend or whatever, and someone always manages to ruin that. So I was thinking to myself, was like, somebody should make a song just for the end of the night where everybody hooks up and leaves and that's it. Like, no one leaves on no bad blood. It's like, because if you listening all night and they like, yeah, I'm an elbow a nigga, I'm shoot somebody, blah, blah, blah. That's the mentality you're going to carry the rest of the night. But it's like if you hear something where everybody's calm, you can have almost like the black cookout feel on the way out. Like, why wouldn't we do that? Especially like where we from. Like, because it really ain't nowhere to go there. So it's like we got to preserve the places we got left till we can make more. So I was like, well, why don't we try that? It's not a lot of people doing stuff like that. But that doesn't mean that it's a good or a bad thing. It's like, if we give this a try, who knows? We could accidentally force the emergence of the next Fresh Prince. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, we have to start doing stuff like that. And it could come from our hometown. But we have to start doing something different with, like, the music that we're all making. So for that, I was just thinking to myself, I was like, well, if I was going in the club, and I based it on a night like I met my fiance, so it was like one of those match made in heaven feels, but it's like, how could I give somebody else that night? Like, because the song I was listening to that night was LTD Love Ballad. So how could I give somebody, like, I would love for like 20 years from now, somebody be in the club, like, yeah, and that Brace joint came on, and that's the night I met the love of my life. Dog, like, that's fire. Like, that's like real fire. Like, think of all the people on Earth because of Luther. I want that.
That's one of the realest things I've ever heard. Like, what are those songs that that have hit you like that through those years? Like you said, LTD Love Ballad. Like, what are some of the most impactful songs to you that have given you that type of feeling, or ones that are connected to memories?
Easy Like Sunday Morning by Lionel Richie. Like, when I was growing up, I knew if I heard it in the house, nobody was gonna bother me for like 3 hours, and I could get some quiet. Like Nancy Wilson's All Is Fair in Love. It was like one of the songs I would just drive around the city to, because it feels so real, so urban, and it's got this brilliance to it. And y'all aren't gonna like this last one, but 2 Chainz Freebase, because you can't listen to classical music all the time, and like, it's got, like I said, it's got a really forward energy. Like, it'll keep you awake, So for like longer drives, deeper rap. In terms of like hip hop over the years, I'm still gonna go with the theme song from Fresh Prince. Because I still count that as one of the best rap songs in history. And I know, like, a lot of people who are going to be listening are going to be like, that's stupid, but, hear me out. If that song comes on in another room, you'll drop what you're doing, go over there, sit your ass down and watch the show. That's rap power. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, like, everybody knows the words to that song, like, across all cultures and anything. You can drop that in the hood spot, you can drop it in the whitest spot, and, people are going to go off to it. So I definitely feel you on that. And I remember one time Mos Def said something, like when Soulja Boy came out, and there was the whole controversy over his music, and he's dumbing down hip hop and everything. And it was around the time Swag On came out. Hopped up out the bed, put my swag on, and Mos Def was like, that's like a new age Negro spiritual right there. And that's something that we've always, me and my cousin, that we've always kind of kept with us. And so, like, even those type of songs that, a lot of people might frown upon or whatever, we like, that's a new age Negro spiritual. So one of them is 2 Chainz, I'm riding around and I'm getting it. Like, I remember when that song came out, you couldn't walk around without seeing, like, you didn't even have to hear the song. People just walking around the street, just, I'm riding around and I'm getting it. And it just made you feel so good. So, I definitely feel you on that, aspect of it. Like,
and it's especially weird because a lot of people singing that were walking.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about I'm riding around and getting it. It's like, but that's one of the things that happens when you got a good song, like and again, like, it's not for everybody. Not every song is gonna appeal to every audience. Like, and it shouldn't. But there was one thing that song did. It was simple. It's easy to memorize. You start off mocking it, and next thing you know, you're hypnotized by it, and you can't get out of it. Yeah, that's just good business.
Yeah. And it was, I think there's something to aspirational music, because even if you're not riding around and getting it, just that feeling when you hear the song of riding around and getting it might inspire you to actually go ride around and get it. So,
it's crazy you said that. I'd actually been reading up on an article in American Mind, where they said the more that a person repeats something out loud, the more it satisfies the part of the brain that associates words with completion, and will actually in turn discourage you from, in this case, riding around and getting it. Like, it would actually be wisest, like, for your true aspirations, those things, you keep them secret between, like, you, God, and potentially your business partners. But, you make sure that, you commit something to it every chance you get, because, there's not a lot of chances, to keep doing these types of things. As more time goes by, you look around, But, I mean, when I'm into that, let's be real, hip-hop and music, it's not like the NBA. Like, you're not going to get 35 and sprain your ankle, and then it's like, oh, you can't rap now.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be funny, but it's not going to happen. So, and it's one of those things where it's like, we just have to be mindful of it. Like, as I'm getting older, I'm starting to like listening to music from older people. I didn't think I would, but...
And they always said that you would when you were younger, too. At least they said that to me. Like, oh, yeah, when you get older, you're going to like this. But yeah, I definitely feel you on that. What are you listening to now? Like, what's in your rotation?
There's an artist named Richie Acevedo in Atlanta. He's got a really interesting sound to him. He did his mixtape called Basquiat. It's got a good little bop to it. There's a couple artists down here, too, that's actually been doing something big. It's a guy named Revenant. Rebel Gang, like, their group, like, they're young, but they're on to something. Like, it can be big, Other than that, I'm still listening, bumping the oldies, because, the oldies is still the goodies.
Yeah. Now, with you, so you're in Florida now, right?
Yes, sir.
So, coming from Baltimore and then moving to the South, what are the differences down there, and how has that kind of impacted you?
Well, one of the things I like about here is, everyone's got guns. Like, it seems like when everybody's got guns, everybody's cool, because it's like, it's no need for nothing crazy to happen, everybody's just trying to have a good time. But, and you'll like meet people, and they'll be like, oh, cool, what do you got? Oh, well, I got blah, blah, blah. Hey, let's go shooting. And you might actually go shooting, hang out with a complete stranger, go out to the middle of nowhere and shoot some rounds off. And this is like regular stuff, where we're from, it's hard for people to trust anyone for any reason, and as more and more time goes by, we get a little more skeptical, a little more scared, or, because with age comes a combination of racism and xenophobia, and anything different after a while must be punished or whatever, But, while you're young, you just, I don't know, it just works better when you're young, you know. And like in terms of the music, you know, the South has driving rhythms is driven by jazz, you know, the roots of black music, you know, so it translates differently. Because you know how like you're from New York, you know, so you know how like New York music has this industrial vibe to it. Like it sounds like a big city. It sounds like the heart of a city, you know. Whereas like the music of like you know, where like Baltimore sounds like music by a dock. You know, like everything sounds like where it's from, you know, so.
Yeah, I think, you know, one of the things, the difference, like, you know how like the South is big on the bass and the 808s, and like the New York is more known for the boom bap. And it's interesting how you know, physical structures actually impact music, because, you know, when you're driving around in the car and you're in the car culture, you can feel that bass and you can feel that, so you want to put it in your music. But if you're just riding around on the train all day, you can't really get that same type of bass from your headphones. So, you know, you want to hear that crack of the snare and a little bit more highs on your kicks, so that it comes through the headphones more. So it's interesting how like the culture of how you actually live kind of influences the music, you know.
But it definitely has to. I mean, like, we as artists, you know, an artist that doesn't broaden their horizons will never make anything new. You know, like let's look at some of the greats. You know, like if you look at like Jay-Z, for example, can you imagine if Jay-Z was still making Reasonable Doubt style music? It's not what people think it is. Like, people always go, you know, they miss that Jay-Z, but that Jay-Z's gone forever. That Jay-Z grew. He became a husband. Like he picked up responsibilities and, you know, industry along the way. Like, he actually had shit to do. You know, it's like, and you know, and that's a good thing. You know, but it's like we as artists, you know, like where we're from, we're not really allowed to nurture and cultivate our abilities the way we should. You know, like, because I'm sorry, we don't have the venues to support it, you know, and it would be dope to have that. And you're right. Like, when you always drive around, you got like a bass system, you're going to make bass knock. When you got headphones, everything's very snare driven. But that's why trap works, because a lot less people are driving. You know, like, I mean, it's more cars on the road, but there's still way more people that can't afford them, you know, with the recession and all. But, you know, even still, like, granted, like, as more time goes by, you know, people they'll figure out a way to do something new with that. You know, like, have you heard, trying to think. A good example of that is, you remember, like, when Katy Perry was making music with 3-6?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's two audiences who under normal circumstances would not overlap, right?
Yeah.
But it works all the same because it fits two vibes smoothly. You know, and not a lot of people can do that. A lot of people try, you know, but that's one of the things that happens when you go somewhere and do something different. You know, like that's kind of what, you know, that's kind of why, like, you still, you know, we still look up for, you know, Mully Man and all of them, you know, to see what they're doing, you know, because it's like when I was coming up in the city, I don't know if you remember Mully Man was dropping like the wire mix and all of them.
Oh yeah.
He was killing the game. You know, I was checking for him all the time. And again, like, as an artist, you know, listening to like another artist grow, it's phenomenal, because you kind of want to follow along like you're reading a decent book. You know what I mean? But a lot of times we don't get that at home. We don't get to just, you know, we don't get to express ourselves like that. And I still haven't figured out why, you know, between everything that's been going on with like the riots and, you know, and whatever that woman in the office keeps doing, it's just, it's not working. You know what I'm saying? Well, with all of that, you know, it's like, y'all need a voice. You know, we need a voice. You know, and I wish it could be me. You know, I do, but you know, it's gonna take some time before I make sense to them. Like, it sucks, but
yeah. I mean, like, one thing I was talking to somebody about the other day is just about how it seems like our city kept getting overlooked for years and years and years. And one of the things that's the aftermath of the riots is I think that a lot more attention is being placed on Baltimore artists, and that, you know, this person was saying that, you know, now it's really about to go down in terms of it, because, you know, the focus is on our city, and you have people outside of the city, like especially during the riots, you know, they know certain streets because on Twitter people are saying this is happening on this street, so people are looking at the Google map like, okay, this is North Avenue and everything like that. The same way, you know, certain people were looking at this stuff in Ferguson. So, like, you know, you might not know anything about St. Louis or St. Louis County or the areas or anything, but, you know, now we know about West Florissant and, you know, different streets that are in that area, and different artists from there are starting to rise. So I definitely think that just socially, the things that are happening are going to make that change. At least you know, I hope so, because, you know, you're starting to see the rise of certain artists. Like, you have Los, and then you have Tate Cobain, who just signed a deal with 300, and, you know, there's other people who are bubbling and making moves and stuff like that. And it's funny because, and, you know, we were talking before about, you know, the Baltimore Circle and how it used to be the circle of venues that you just used to just go to and get trapped in, and certain people never got out of that. And you were talking about the venues before, like certain ones are closed. I didn't know that the Black Hole Rock Club got closed. But I definitely think that there's opportunity for things to open up and start moving more, you know, or at least, you know, I hope so. I'm being very optimistic right now.
Yeah, I would say so.
Well, you know, like, if I can be real with y'all, you know, one of the things that I like about you know, that young brothers now we're starting to take a more active role in our own destiny, because we know help ain't coming.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody's gonna build it for us. We're gonna have to figure out how to build it ourselves, because ultimately, you know, there's gonna be a whole generation of folks that's gonna come up, and they're gonna want to do music too, and we're gonna have to give them something besides excuses. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have to give them a venue. We're going to have to give them a way to do it.
Yeah.
I have no idea how, though, you know, and and that is something that, you know, as more time goes by, I hate to say, like, I'm going to be somewhere else, you know, but I know there's artists in the city who have that mindset. You know, I know there's people who straight up will never leave Baltimore, and they love it, ride or die to the fullest, and they should. You know, that's home. You know, like, you know, we from there. We live there. People we love died there. You know, that's big. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, it would be on this generation, you know, to actually start fixing that. You know, but right now we can't, because it's a whole bunch of economic issues that's smashing everything down. You know, like, you know, everybody, you know, people will say money don't matter, but the problem is you still need money to get stuff done, you know? Like, we still need money to, you know, we still need money for buildings, we still need money to employ people, we still need money for this or that. You know, and as more and more time goes by, you know, it becomes more apparent, you know, we need to start doing something with purchasing.
Hold up, you're hello?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're going out for a second. Can you repeat what you just said?
We need to start figuring out how to use purchasing power. You know, like, people like money don't matter, but if you use money wisely, it can make a lot of stuff that should matter not matter. You know, like, I'll give you an example. People who be like, yeah, you know, we was turned up all summer, but then wait for donations for back to school stuff. You know, like, it's a advertising thing. You know, it's like we can make subtle differences that in the long term will benefit us. You know, but maybe that's not, you know, something the rappers should speak on. You know, we're supposed to be entertainers, but we're in a world that's kind of messed up, where entertainers will tell the truth and politicians will give you the rig around, you know.
I think like like what you were saying with the wisdom and using money and everything like that. I'm just thinking back to my experience, like in the rap game and everything like that. I think a lot of people just don't know certain things. And, we were talking to Al Shipley last week, and I brought up the point of, a lot of Baltimore artists just don't know certain things. And, they don't, even still, they're not up on the blog game. They're not up on the internet and technology and things like that. And where to put your money, like, a lot of people don't know, like, don't pay to open up for somebody, just, like simple things like that. And, it was a time where I remember one time I did a show with my homeboy out in New Jersey, and some other Baltimore artists, they were on the bill. It was on, I think it was in Elizabeth, New Jersey, like right outside New York. And I hadn't seen somebody in a long time, and they came up to me and they were like, "Oh, I gotta go out of state to see you," And it's like, a lot of people need to know that you have to get out, and it's not that hard if you just put your money in certain places and not in others. Like, a China bus ticket was only $20, and if you bought one, then you could, change the number on it and print it out and hop on the bus for free for a good little minute. It's like little tricks and things like that to get out and just go out and meet people. And I don't think people, I think there's a fear of leaving here, one, and then two, there's a lack of knowledge of you have to get out of here, or you're not keeping it real if you do get out of here.
Well, look at the way a lot of us were raised, like, you got people in Baltimore who lived there their whole life and haven't been over west.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
But that's what happens when you come up in a war zone. You're raised fearful, and eventually that fear becomes resentment and anger, because that's all it can become. You know what I'm saying? Like I'll give you a good example. I'm walking down the street one day, back when I was up north, back when I was in Baltimore. And, this dude walks up, he's like, you support local rappers. And I was like, well, could I hear some of your material first? And he starts cursing me out because I didn't just buy it. It's like, so with no sales pitch, no cooperation, I don't even know if he raps. I don't know what's on the CD. That's like 3 years ago. And it's funny, but at the same time, it's not funny because, I'm sure that's a dream that was real to him, and I wasn't trying to, like, smash on him or nothing, but back when we, in the city, like, let's be real about it. With $5 or $10, like, that's a chicken box. I can make a couple trips, you know what I mean? Like, I can get some snacks.
Yeah.
And and that's what I was trying to tell people. It's like, when if you're going to do music, you got to treat it not just like you're doing music because of you're doing music for fun or whatever, or you're doing music for relief. Like, that's cool, but ultimately anything you're doing, you want to somehow be able to turn it into something that turns something else in your life into a positive.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
The thing about, like what you said about both, you have East and West, and then even inside like the West and the East, you have you have neighborhoods who are often against each other too. So like how back in the day, you weren't a gang per se, but you'll rep your neighborhood, and so you probably didn't mess with the neighborhood that was maybe a block up from you or some shit like that. So I think that most definitely doesn't help when it comes to Baltimore hip hop. And then, you can even see it, man. I mean, I don't understand how you can have like a TV show that has been lauded as one of the best TV shows ever made, and it kind of sparked this whole thing and this whole golden age of television that they call, and nothing really happened when it came to Baltimore music. And while you have all this stuff going on in The Wire, and you have this distinct depiction of of black culture in Baltimore. While you have this like downtown in Mount Vernon, you have these rock artists and art collectors who are. But what's interesting about them is that, you know, with at least some of them, a lot of them, the people who made these weird rock art collectives in Baltimore, they aren't from Baltimore. So a lot of them come from New York or even, you know, further up north, and they come to Baltimore and they just make it. So they have a different mind state.
Well, I'm starting to believe, like, after coming to, like, Orlando, you know, like, I've had a chance to, you know, do music in some interesting places. But if there's one thing I'm going to, like, really, really, really say, like, for real, is there's a Krypton rule to all of this. You know, like, for example, you know, like, if you're an artist, don't try and make it where you're from. Like, it's cool to have your hometown's help. But Jesus put it best, was like, a prophet's not appreciated in his own home, you know? Well, I'll put it in more contemporary terms. In Baltimore, I was Clark Kent. Down here, I'm Superman. You know what I mean? Like, a little bit of a change can do you some real good. You know, and it's not a bad thing. You know, like, we're discouraged from seeing things because we're taught to be in a constant state of fear. You know, but what are we fearing? That it might not be that bad, that our parents were wrong, that we're supposed to have nice things. Like, you know... We have to be careful what we're teaching ourselves, you know, because ultimately we pass that down to others.
Right.
And I feel like, you know, where we're from, you know, we're really discouraged from trying to, you know, do something with ourselves. You know, for me personally, I know people, you know, who have been like, you know, 29, 30, never finished college, never finished high school, never left home, you know.
Yeah. I get discouraged. Like, it's funny because people will say things too as if it's a word of advice, or like if it's like a good thing because it's a good thing to them. So like somebody might be like, you know, for instance, you might get a new job and somebody might be like, oh yeah, this is a good place. Such and such has been here for 20 something years, 30 something years, then retired. Then they needed some more people, so then they came back. And I'm just like, that's not the goal. Like, the goal is to not have to be here. The goal is to be in ownership of something like that. like the ultimate goal is to take this little bit of, I call them nigger pennies. You take these little nigger pennies and you put it into something to, you know, build something great and, you know, multiply and expand it so they're no longer nigger pennies, you know. But, you know, certain people, the aspirations go to a certain point and it just stops. And, you know, I think, you know, I don't knock people. You know, it's one thing. I try not to knock people. Like, I try not to knock people because of their upbringing or because of, you know, various social constructs that shape the way that they think, and the way that they think is right for the way that they exist, I guess. But I always just look at people sometimes and I'm like, yo, the way that I exist is so different. Like, there's no reason for me not to be in a different state every week or two, or every day, you know, or a different country every week, you know. Like, that's the type of level that I think a lot of people where we're coming from don't think on, you know.
Well, on the other end of that, you know, we have to be careful, you know, like when it comes to our species, you know, not everything is for everyone, you know. Like, it's a certain level of pride, you know. Like, I feel like, you know, we're weird as a people sometimes because we'll have pride and be broke, and there's not room for both, but we don't seem to know it all the time. You know, like when I was a younger man, you know, I realized I didn't have any options, so I joined the military, you know, because it was a way to get out, you know, see some things, learn a trade, you know, maybe avoid getting shot, because at the time, you know, the statistic was you were more likely to be shot in Baltimore than in Iraq.
Right.
You know, like, you know how real that is, bruh?
I think it's,
like,
well, maybe not this year, but in the previous years, recently, it's been the same.
Yeah, like, and it's like looking at those odds, you know, like, and a lot of cats be like, I never serve Uncle Sam. It's like, well, what about serving yourself? You know, because you, like, somebody has to look out for family. You know, when it's all said and done, like, all of us gonna have to do it. You know, everybody's got somebody where it's like, you know what, for them, I would do this. You know, like, for me, like, when I left, you know, I just kept thinking about my little sister. You know, it's like, I'm like, you know, I wanted to figure out how to do something to, you know, get her where I was. You know, and I wasn't, you know, fortunate enough to have that opportunity, you know, but I was like, if I can get the opportunity, you know, for later on, you know, then I'm going to go with it, you know, because I feel I owe her that, you know, because she didn't get to do what I got to do. And, you know, I feel like with a lot of people, you know, that maybe their heart's in the right place or maybe it's not. You know, again, it comes down to fear. You know, like I'm not scared of failing at this because I've already failed doing what they were telling me to. You know, like
but see, the thing is,
that way,
like,
you know?
Like, you know, just some, you know, the couple conversations that we've had, you know, you think on a different level than certain people. So, you know, when you talk about like going into the military and, you know, you're talking about it from an aspect of you already know what's up and you know I have to go into this and get out of it what I need to get out of it, you know? And at least some people that I've been around don't necessarily go into with that same mentality. Like certain people are more inclined to get brainwashed where some people aren't. And I think people like you are, at least from my experience, I don't know, you know, maybe you've met other people, but I think people like you are kind of the exception.
It's not that. Look, man, like, everyone's brainwashed by someone.
That's true.
You know, we don't come here with original thoughts. You know, everything in our life starts off with the basic question of what the hell is going on, and everything after that is just an adjustment from there.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, so you start off, like, realistically, it always comes back, you know, to your parenting. You know, like, you know, if those people are there, you know, to go, well, you can do this or you can't do that, then you'll grow up thinking you can or can't do something respectively. You know, that's one of the advantages of single parent households, though, to be honest, is there's one person there telling you what you can and can't do, but most of the time you have to figure it out for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, you know, it's one of those things where it's easy to play the victim, but it's a lot of opportunity in it if they're looking at it with the right perspective and, you know, a clear mind. But there comes a point in, I believe, every person's life where you got to stop letting your life happen to you, and you got to start doing something to it to make it what you want out of it, you know, and that's something you can only learn through failure, you know, and my pride's not big enough where, you know, failing's going to stop me. You know, success is just the end of a string of failures, you know, like, you know, how can you imagine, like, you know, if Mark Zuckerberg was like, you know what, no one liked Facebook, I'm going to shut it down. Like,
yeah. I mean, I would even go so far as, yeah. I mean, I would go so far as to say that success isn't necessarily the end. Success is just a state of being because you don't have an end with it, you know? Like, I guess going back to the whole thing of the catch music song, you know, it's like if you don't get the trophy, you know, you cannot come home. But it's like how many people don't even leave home, and is leaving home and failing and not coming back with a trophy, that's still somewhat of a success, given that the majority of people don't even leave home to even come home to even have an experience to even get a trophy, you know?
Yeah, but, you know, all of that requires an uphill fight, you know, and like one of the things I can say for Baltimore is we got some scrappers. You know, we got some people that can throw some hands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the nurses.
I just, you know, my thing is, I just wish they would take the fight to the right place. You know, like, like there's issues they have to overcome and ways they can help each other. You know, like, and it don't seem like a lot, but last time I checked, there was almost 2 square miles of abandoned houses. Like that could easily be turned into something profitable. The people can turn that city into somewhere profitable. You know, but it's not the type of thing that they're encouraged to do. So they don't think about it in that aspect. They don't think about it like we can save ourselves. You know, and to some degree, I kind of blame the black church for that, but that's a subject for a different time. Yeah, you know, we get in this mindset of waiting for a miracle to happen, not realizing we still got 2 hands, 2 feet, and a heartbeat. And if you really wasn't doing nothing, you might as well, you know, go out and make something happen. You know, like there's a spot over west, up in Sandtown, this church. They just set up shop and was like really going for it. You know, they started rebuilding the community. You know, even the dealers around there respected what they were doing to the point where the dealers let them do their thing and just stayed out the way. Dealers started going to church. They started giving back to the community. They turned that place into somewhere. Like they became a miracle. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and you don't see that everywhere in the city. You know, like you'll get like some big churches surrounded by slums, you know, or you'll get like a nice sized church by a liquor store. You know, you'll get a school that's underfunded, but you leave your children there. Like that's, you know, it's stuff like that, you know, where it's like these are small things that if people were to contribute, they could save themselves. You know, how my homeboy put it, Rapunzel, let your hair down and save yourself. Like, you know, and it's like, but I don't know. I guess, you know, we're taught to kind of want a magical answer out of things, but it's a lot of hard work, you know, and we got a lot of hard work ahead of us, you know, whatever path we take. But it's like you can choose to commit to a life of failure, which is short successes that are fleeting but continuously successful, or you can commit to a life of success, which is long and annoying, but once you win, you won, you know. So
yeah, and the, you know, in that long journey, it's riddled with little failures, you know. But at the end of the day, you learn something. Like somebody said something, and I was gonna make a T-shirt out of it. It said success, or no, what was it? It was win or lose. And like what I was gonna do was like X out the lose and put learn. Like you win or learn, and you come back and you build upon that until you get to that win. Like, you know, you have to, I guess people have to stop, one, fearing loss and looking at it as a learning experience to build upon and keep going.
I like it.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. I like it. I'm thinking like, I would put win or like scratch out lose and be like win later. Cause it's like, you gotta keep going. You know what I mean? Like I know too many people who gave up, man. Like, and it scares me, you know, because like anyone can do it. You know, anyone can give up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, in this project, like, bro, I wanted to quit the whole time. You know, I didn't have the help I needed at one point. I was freaking.
Hold on. Oh, you breaking up. Your sound quality is dropping a little bit.
You got me now?
Yep. Got you now.
Yeah, like I hit a point where it was like I just wasn't getting the help I needed, you know, and I wanted to quit, and I was just gonna quit, like, you know, forget this, you know. But I really want to win, you know, like, like I want it more than food, more than sleep, because I want to be able to not work when I'm 50, like that's right. Winning, you know, and I don't think people, you know, see that the way they should. You know, like not working at 50, like that's like straight from God, bro. Like, you got nothing. You know, like.
Did you pull Retro feature in Florida?
Yes, I did. I recorded it at a studio called Real Feel. I had a pretty good technician with me. This cat named Antoine Hart. You know, like me and him, his job was to, you know, take my production to like another level because he's got all types of weird plugins and, you know, he thinks like a crazy person too. So we were able to really get some cool stuff jumping.
So let's say, so if you recorded Retro Future, or do you think it would have been a more darker feel to it, production wise?
Well, when you were like when the stuff I recorded in Baltimore, it has more of a Baltimore feel to it. Like it's got what's a good way to word it? A little man in a big city feel. You know, because like that's what I was there. I was like a little man in a big city. You know, and that's cool. You know, for what it was, but you know. In order for my music, or in order for me to develop and grow into something that can get, you know, future me where I want future me to be, you know, it was best to do it here. You know, it was best to learn that stuff here. So
what's next on the horizon for you?
I'm gonna push this project as hard as I can. You know, and start getting into online promotion, because that's really all I can do. Like the goal, like believe it or not, this isn't a lofty goal. It's like if I can sell 1,000, that's $10,000. You know, so then after that, put it into doing the videos. Because again, this was all designed to be musicals. You know, so it's like you do one musical, flip it for that, you know, promotion for the musical. And then you go right back into sales. Like once you hit 10,000, you can wash, rinse, repeat this thing for a while.
Yeah.
You know, especially when you're underground. You know, like people don't realize Nelly's Country Grammar took 3 years to pop. Yeah. That's a lot of time saying the same words. But he walks away with $60 million, so, you know. And I'm looking at it like this, like it can be done. People have done it before, you know, so why not try?
What are your favorite tracks from your project? I mean, I know like each one is like your baby, but like if you had to pick like one or two, which ones would those be?
My favorite tracks on the project would be Retro Future, because it sounds like you're watching a Western in the future. Like I just thought that was really crazy, and I never heard anything like it, at least at the time. And Space Time, of course, because Space Time is really different. But Police State is hands down my favorite.
Okay.
Police State, it's us, it's Black America, like right now, you know. But as a song, and it's like, how do we make that? And then it's like, how do we convey it and make sure, you know, people were aware of that moment? And the only way to do it is like with music, you know, because that's how we keep records anyway. Like, think about Marvin Gaye's "What's Going On." You know? And think about
my favorite artist of all time, Marvin Gaye.
You know, and think about how the songs still feels real. You know,
right.
That's kind of what I was going for with Police State. It's like this whole thing where it's like, hopefully Police State is an obsolete song in a year, you know, but I'm not, you know, that believing in the system bouncing back in our favor.
I mean, I don't know if you remember when you were here in December and we talked, and I think you rapped the song to me. And I was like, yo, it's dope. And I let you hear something that, you know, was kind of similar. And I was trying to get it together. I'm still kind of working on it. And it's funny because I had a sense of urgency about getting it out. I sampled the joint from Hunger Games. And you said to me, I was like, yeah, you know, I got to hurry up and get this out. And you were like, no, you don't, because it's not going to change. You can put this out anytime and it's going to be relevant. And I was like, damn, that's real. And then, you know, fast forward a couple months later, and it's like so many other things that make the song that I'm working on right now so more pertinent. And, you know, you say that, you know, you hope in a year to be obsolete, but I don't even think you probably remember even saying that to me, but
No, I remember. I lived by that, bro.
Yeah.
You're not gonna sprain your ankle and just suddenly not be able to rap. You know, like
yeah. And then, you know, the circumstances of that particular song, you know, have not only not changed, but more is coming to light about it. So it's like I might want to wait a little bit more to even, you know, perfect it.
well, you got time. You know, like
yeah.
I look at it like this, right? You know, like people always worry with music that there's a window of opportunity. Like, you know, that you have to be an artist by 25 or it's not gonna work.
Mm-hmm.
2 Chainz didn't pop off till 36. Rick Ross didn't pop off till 34. Plies didn't pop off till 34. Mm-hmm. Like Trick Daddy had just got out of jail and he did like 15 years or something crazy like that. I mean, I might be wrong, but you know, like the point is, there's no time limit.
Yeah,
you know?
So many examples. Like you look at Action Bronson, like 31, 32. You look at Jay Electronica. People didn't know his name till he was after 30. Like, you know, and that's one of the things that's I'm like, wow, like, you know, they say it's a youth type of game, but traditionally in hip hop, when you look at the highest sellers, and then when you look at when people popped off, it's usually been the people who have the most longevity has been like after 27-ish.
And that makes sense. And do you know why?
Why is that?
It's obvious, bruh. Because, again, remember what I was saying earlier? It's like people are looking to politicians for entertainment. They're looking to entertain us for the truth. Yeah. You know, when you finally get to, once you've experienced a certain amount of like life things, you know, you have an entirely different message about you. You have entirely different thoughts to convey.
Yeah.
You know, like, for example, you know, like, trying to think, like, for example, like, you know, I'm sure a younger, let's say, like a younger Cameron would have had an entirely different style than an older Cameron, you know, but after his beef with Mace, he was like, you know, this is what I'm going to do till Mace steps out of retirement.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, and it worked, you know, listening to it, like even, I was listening to him today, you know, and I was legitimately enjoying the music like when I first heard it. You don't get to do that with a lot of artists, you know, but it's something that comes with age, you know, because age brings practice.
Mm-hmm.
Practice brings strategy, understanding, confidence. You know, and these are all things that can take a product to the next level, you know, and it's like, why would you rush any of that?
Yeah, that's true. That's why, like, a lot of I guess at least now, a lot of child prodigies kind of fizzle out after a while.
Well,
like,
the problem with child prodigies is you're asking a kid to have adult-like pressure and sustain it, and that's not cool.
Yeah.
And it can't end the way you want it to because it's still a kid.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, and how many times do those kids usually blow their brains out or wind up on drugs? Like, it's a pretty good percentage. You know, like, people are better off just letting things take their natural course. You know, like, can you imagine somebody telling Van Gogh, yo, hurry up, man, we want that painting by Friday? You know, and that's one of the things I like about music. You know, music it's a very weird industry because you're expected to give stuff away for free to get them to buy stuff from you later.
Yeah.
Like, that's hilarious in its own right. You know, like, can you imagine somebody coming by, hey, you know, I heard you need a replacement roof. And you're like, well, all right, well, you put 40 nails in for free, and I'm going to let you know if we need the rest. You know, it doesn't work. You know, it's not an interchangeable business practice. But here we are. You know, so it's like, that's why I'm like, whatever you're going to do, it's like, you know, take your time, you know, make sure it's something beautiful. Because I know that's what you're going for, because you're a smart cat and you're very talented, you know. And it's like, why rush any of that?
Yeah.
You know, make sure when that joint drop, that's it. Like, with songs like that where you wait, like I said, I was sitting on Police State for a year. And I was sitting there and I was mad I couldn't share it with people. But then I thought about it, it's like, you can't share a cake that ain't been in the oven too long. They'll just get sick. it won't work. You know what I'm saying? And this is no different. You know, it requires patience and pain and a lot of bitching. You know, like
what are some of the reactions that you've been getting recently, like so far, you know, since the project has dropped and everything, or not? Well, you know, it's just officially dropped the other day, but since you've been letting people hear it and everything,
I've been getting a lot of apologies. Like that was different. You know, I've been getting apologies because, you know, I was telling people, you know, for like a year, it's like, you know, I was working on this, you know, I was working really hard. You know, people kind of brushed me off. You know, so then I show up with the joint, like, hey, you know, I finished it. And, you know, like, somebody be like, well, you know, you should let me hear it. And I'm like, I can't do that because I didn't make it for free. You know, like I said, I put like $3,000 into it, which it's not a lot. But when you don't have no money, $3,000 is like 100%.
Yeah.
You
I know what you mean. Trust me, I know what you mean. And it's crazy because, like, you know, before we did this, I went back and, you know, your joint, Before Heaven After Suicide is on Spotify. So I went back and I listened, you know, I skimmed through it real quick. And some of the songs I remember hearing before, and some of those records are dope. Like the Broke Boy Blues joint. What else? The Heaven joint. Didn't Miss Me, that joint especially, like that joint really hit me. And it's crazy because like some of your older tracks, it's like, you know, when you listen to some of the older stuff, it's like, you know, why would you and I feel the same way about my music sometimes. It's like when you look at what I did before, why would you doubt me and then have to apologize now in the future? But like you said about the hater thing, like it's like the same type of thing.
But, dog, look at it like this, right? You know, like, I look at it like, until you're successful, you know, you ever seen the movie Pursuit of Happiness?
Oh, it's one of my favorite movies.
Okay, I'm Will Smith in the bus station.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how I look at it. It's like, you know, I'm at the point in my career, you know, as a musician, as an artist, where it's like, I'm a nobody who's trying to come up, you know, and trying to figure out how to do it. Yeah. You know, and it requires meeting people and being places. And I'm okay with that. You know, like, if I didn't want to do this, I would do something else. You know, like, There's people who be like, yeah, I want to rap. But then they'll be like, yep, I'm going to take this quick job at Wendy's. Now you ain't got no free time. So did you really want to work at Wendy's or did you want to rap? You know what I'm saying?
That comes to fear. Yeah. Yep. Like, people, like, you know, just dealing with rap. I've been broke, sleeping in a bus station, waiting for the next bus to come, like the next Greyhound or whatever. Like, you know, people don't realize that behind the scenes type of grind that you really have to go through for some of this stuff that, you know, you pull it off sometimes. Sometimes you pull it off, sometimes you don't. But at the end of the day, it's like, you know, you put your all into this and nobody can take that from you. And, you know, I feel like, you know, a win is a win on any type of level. And to me, a win is just getting out of Baltimore. And if I gotta do whatever to get out of here, you know, stay in the bus station for a minute, for a couple hours, just so I can rap, you know, I'm gonna do that. Or just so I can do an audition for like a movie or something like that. Like, you know, whatever I can do to get out of that shit and inspire other people. And it becomes a point where other people are inspired by you. So now you feel committed to these other people. And so now it's like, damn, like, I'm giving other people inspiration to do certain things. To where, like, you know, there's a point where my mother was like, you know, I inspire her to write her book because, you know, I just go and hop on a bus and go anywhere and do a show. And it's like, damn, like, I can't let people down, you know?
No, you can totally let them down because your expectations have to be expectations that are realistic and expectations from yourself. You know, but on the other end of that, this is the responsibility that's ahead for each of us. You know, it's like, we may not realize it, but like we're at a point in our history where our musicians, our artists are we're about to all be in the age groups where we become black leadership.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and like I've been thinking about this for a while. You know, like think of the conversation that we're having now, bro. We are rappers.
Yeah.
Like this is a deep conversation for rappers. You know, like this is a deep conversation for regular people. You know, but rappers, you know, America's went out of the way to, you know, delegitimize this as an art form. So that way it can be portrayed as, you know, just something for young people or just something for wild niggas. But it's like, we're talking about some serious truths and motivations and things that most people aren't even willing to share. You know what I mean? Because they're afraid of how it'll be taken. But, you know, we're coming from a position where it's like, well, when we didn't have someone going, yo, you need to do this, we got to make sure that doesn't happen for somebody else musically. You know what I'm saying? Like I think about, like, you know, how people were like, you know, like, I'm not a fan of KRS-One, but I'm a fan of what he did. You know, I'm a fan of how, you know, people banded together behind what he was doing, because he was very real to them. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, and that's what we're becoming. You know, we're becoming real to ourselves, and that's the only way we can be real to anyone else, you know, afterwards. You know, but that's a big step. You know, like when you was like, you know, you afraid to let them down, you know, that's deep. You know, like a lot of artists don't realize that. Like, I'm not afraid to let people down. What I'm afraid of is I'm afraid that I would actually fail myself to a point where I quit. And then I look around and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take this job at Applebee's because this is my step forward. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like where I completely quit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you can't completely quit. Yeah, and like it's set up for for it to be so easy to do. It's like, you know, with this podcast, like, you know, we were just like, you know, we have these conversations all the time, so why not just record them and put them out and see what happens? And then, why not just talk to interesting people who have the same type of mind state and just see what happens? So if something happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But let's just get the ideas out there and see if we can make something happen of it. You know,
well,
so
the truth to that is like, you know, like all humans have two basic things. You know, humans want to be loved. They want to be recognized. You know what I mean? You know, and part of that love and that recognition is, hopefully recognition is a word. Hopefully I don't sound crazy. You know,
it's a word now.
It's going to have to be hashtag recognition. But, you know, part of that is finding out that you're not alone. You know what I mean? Like, we're having this conversation now, but I'm sure there are thousands of other conversations in simultaneity, you know, that are happening. You know, totally is a word in your face. But nah, it's like, you know, there's thousands of other conversations like this. You know, there are people with legitimate similar concerns. You know, they want to give up. And it's like, and I'll tell any of them, you know, if they tune in, it's like, don't quit. Because if you quit, then the assholes who told you to quit were right. And you deserve to be able to dance on their graves. You know what I'm saying? Like, you deserve that. You know, like, I had to explain it to somebody. It was like, you know, the reason I wanted to start going to the gym, the reason I want to start doing more is because I feel I deserve to outlive my opponents. And not just outlive them, but thrive. You know, like, for the people who told me that I can't do something, it's not only necessary for me to do it, but I have to make sure that when I do it, it's also an inconvenience to them. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what they had set up for me. You know, like, someone who's not, like, directly contributing to what you're doing, but is sitting around watching you flounder, bruh, that's harsh. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know people who be like, you know, like, say, for example, like, especially, like, in Baltimore, you know, you have one dude show up to the show with, like, 15, 20 dudes, you know?
Yeah.
And then you have somebody else show up to the show with 3, and the person with 3 hate on the dude with 15. But the truth is, the dude with 3, had he known 15 people who actually, you know, cared as much as they say they cared versus, you know, carrying only your words, he'd be a little further. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
yeah.
how
That's
do
the
you
one
get
thing, like when you look at scenes in different cities and how they work. Like I remember, when I first went to Howard University, and I used to perform at this hood ass spot called the Island Cafe. It's out of business now, but it was off of Georgia and Upshur, and like people in Howard have people in DC in general have a certain distaste to people from Howard because they feel that, uppity and all of that type of stuff coming into the city and not giving back and all this sort of stuff. But I used to go out there, and it was DJ Sexy Spice, and she looks like a pit bull, but her name was Sexy Spice, and she would say, "Coming to the stage from Howard," like, a lot of times when they bring you out, they say where you're coming from. So they say you from Baltimore, you from DC, you from New York, you from whatever. And so they'd be like, coming from Howard University. They say, I'm coming from Howard University. So all the DC dudes would sit down. But then I would start rapping. Then one would get up. Then another would get up. And then tell other people to get up and, show me support and love to where, I kept coming back and I kept getting love. And that's not the type of thing that I experience here at home, which is kind of crazy. It's like, I was in there as like an alien, as like an intruder into their territory, but all it took is one person who was, I guess, a leader in a social structure to be like, all right, come on, we messing with this dude right here. And then people would come and they would show me love and everything like that. And I'm kind of going off on a tangent right now, but that's the type of thing that kind of fueled me to do it. Is that you're going to get up there, you're going to fail, you're going to bomb sometimes, but sometimes it's going to be that one person that's like, yo, this dude is dope. Pay attention to him, and everybody else is going to start paying attention. And that's just how things start to grow,
First time I went to Virginia, I used to roll into Virginia every week.
Okay, what part?
Franconia.
Okay, yeah, Franconia, Springfield, all that, yeah.
Because, they got a lot of shows up there, and people don't know, in Baltimore cats don't know about it because they don't drive,
Yeah.
But I go up there, and the first time I went, I bombed.
Mm-hmm.
And I bombed because I went specifically as, how do I describe this to y'all? I went on a recon mission. Me and my homeboys, we was like, I was like, well, we're not going to beat somebody in Virginia at making music that's dope to people in Virginia. We can only beat them at being ourselves. And they were like, that's stupid, but as more time went by, they saw where I was going with that, and we got their respect. Because we were doing, the music we were doing was so drastically different from what they were doing. And, it wasn't like contrasting or negative, but we figured out their format. I studied them, because I don't like losing. So I studied the people, that I was around. I was like, all right, well, this is what they want. This is the type of music they like. Let's see if we can do this.
And it's crazy, like my greatest show, like my most favorite show that I ever did was in Virginia, like in Northern Virginia, like near Dulles Airport. I forget the name and I can't remember the name of the spot. Yeah. Oh, was it Vienna? That's right. You were there.
Vienna. Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. You were there, and it was crazy because it just happened off on MySpace, and I was I was going out there to perform for free, and I brought my peoples from both. That's one thing that I like to do is I like to bring people out who have never been out of the city. So I like to bring them out to places that they've never been, even if they have charges and not supposed to be out of the city or whatever, or probation. Fuck it, we all going. So we packed the car up. We went out there. Who was it? It was me, you, Adib, Devin, and was Austin out there? Oh, Ricky.
It was Ricky. It wasn't Devin.
That's right. No, Devin was there. He's in the pictures.
He was?
Yeah. Yep, it was Devin. So we went out there and just the love that they show. I performed this record called B-Town, and it's a straight Baltimore club record with me rapping on it. And they just showed so much love, like more love than I ever would have gotten in Baltimore, to the point where I could bring one of my homeboys up who raps, who didn't have any type of experience with that, to where I'm like, yo, let me bring my man up, and he spit a acapella, and he got mad love. And it's like crazy, like how you can't get that here. Like, that was a crazy experience, and my cousin can attest to that. You remember that day?
I mean, yeah, but do you think the demographics of it though, of that crowd, explains a lot?
Yeah, I mean, the crowd was all white people. I mean, we could count. I think there were 3 black people other than... No, matter of fact, it was 1. And it's crazy because the only black person there ended up adding me on Facebook. And... yeah, because she was in the corner. It's funny because you can see her in the pictures. But, like, yeah, she was in, like, little corner or whatever. But, like, that was a fun time. But that was some shit... Like, you've been to, like, my cousin, like you've been to all them shows in Baltimore, and there was never an experience like that, ever.
Yeah,
like, you just don't get that here. And I don't know, did I bring you out to, New York that time?
No. The only time I've been in New York with you was when you went with me, technically. Okay.
I brought you to Philly. And you saw
Philly Freeway,
Yeah, that situation was kind of cool. And then I performed in Philly a couple other times. But, like, when you perform out of state, like, that's when you get the most love.
But you know why?
Why is that?
The Krypton effect, bruh. When you home, you Clark Kent.
Yeah.
As soon as you leave, you Superman. You immediately have an exotic element to you because you're not from there. You came all the way here. It's got to be important, whatever you're going to do.
Yeah.
And that's how that translates. And that's how it should translate,
Yeah.
It's just trying to get that to translate when you home. That's hard. You know what I'm saying? Because, again, there's a mindset to naturally fight you because they know you, because you're familiar.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, you'll be sitting there like, well, this is what I do, like, one of the things I thought was crazy when you in Baltimore, you like, yeah, I rep Baltimore hard. It's like, dog, we're here already. You know what I'm saying? Like, it never portrayed the right image, for what they were going for. But, like, I know, like, I'll be here. And I'll be like, yeah, I'm from Baltimore, and I rep Baltimore hard. It's a whole different meaning. Because it's like I'm here by myself. Like, it's like, and any problems that come with that comes to me and me alone. You know what I'm saying? Like,
what I never understood is when you're in the city, how people rock Orioles and Ravens gear and they rep Baltimore so hard. I'm just like, yo, you're already here. Like, why do you have to do that shit somewhere else? Like, when like I'm not going to rock a Ravens fitted or hat or a shirt or whatever unless I'm out of town.
Look at New Yorkers. They do the same thing.
But there's nothing wrong with it. Like, and that's one of the other things. Like, we can't bring ourselves to a mindset where we have a problem with that. We should be happy that they can at least hold on to something. What we need to do is figure out how to make the something they hold on to us.
Mm-hmm.
But like, the interesting thing about we're talking about leaving our respective cities and states or whatever like that. And recently, I remember I was watching one of those Sprite documentaries, and Drake was one of the featured people on it. And one of his main things was his goal in life was to show that you didn't have to move the city to become known. So I thought that was interesting, but I don't know. I guess with him it's a bit different. His shit wasn't really all that organic for real.
Well, he totally moved though. Like, if I'm not mistaken, like, and there's nothing wrong with moving. Like, it's a working formula. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing wrong with it. Like, for example, Albert Einstein could have just been some dude if he had only went to a local college.
Mm-hmm.
He left. He learned some things, came back. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, but that's why, you know, that's why that song means what it does to me. You know, it's like if you don't win the trophy, you can't come home. You know, because it's like if I don't figure out what I need to save my city, you know, I can't come back because I've done no one a service.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
And I mean that's as real as it can get. You know, from some rapper. You know what I mean? Like, you know, we don't look at it like that all the time, but that's one of the very true things about it is that's us. Like, if we aren't doing something towards, you know, bettering the place we're from, you know, ultimately we're hurting it just the same. You know, like, I don't mind somebody wearing a hat. You know, my thing is when the artists are like, you know, when the artist is like, you know, I'm repping Baltimore, you know, all day, blah, blah, blah. You know, and I'm thinking to myself, it's like, but what are you repping in Baltimore? Like, are you helping the people? Are you harming the people? Are you part of what's wrong? Are you working on a solution? You know, like,
yeah.
Because repping is a very generic term. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you talk about something as big as a city. You know,
and
so
see, the thing is, like, what's his name? Michael Phelps. I kind of relate to him in a way because I believe it was him. You know, I don't have my sources out and my quotes and everything, so you know, don't you know, kill me if I don't cite my sources correctly. But I believe it was him, and you know, he was saying with rep in Baltimore, it might have been somebody else, but basically, you know, a lot of people rep certain aspects of it, but they don't rep the other aspects of it. So like me, you know, coming from that whole, I guess, you know, I went to private school and everything like that. So it's like people will rep a certain part of it, but then there's the whole Jewish part of it. There's the whole Jewish Park Heights, Jewtown or whatever. There's the whole Green Spring Valley area, you know, going into Baltimore County. Like there's so much of a diverse type of thing and a whole art type of structure where I think, you know, the indie rock scene might embrace it, but the hip hop scene might not necessarily, which is understandable, but at the same time, you can't paint everything as one picture, which is what, you know, when I did my song B-Town, I tried to illustrate that. And, you know, I think you do it as well with your music because it's not traditionally Baltimore, but you're still talking about the same issues and everything like that, but it's not just straight, like, you can't point a finger on it. It's more universal, you know, like a lot of different types of people can kind of get into it. So
that's
like
good. I mean, like, you know, but you know, like, and one of the things with, you know, doing stuff like that, you know, artists don't seem to realize, you know, the problem with, like, you know, a city like Baltimore, we have a lot of interesting issues with us, you know, like one of the things I always thought was cool, we have the whole here be dragons mentality. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got people who won't even go to Arundel Mills because it's too far.
yeah.
You know, like,
matter of fact, you said in one of your songs, matter of fact, I think it was Baltimore City Catch Music, where you were like, I'm from the West, you from, and you from South Baltimore, oh, it's too far. Like, like what?
It's just too far. You know what I'm saying? Like, bruh, like, I'm from there. You know what I mean? Like, for real. You know what I mean? Like, I remember what it was like when you would meet a young lady and be like, man, it's not worth the 45-minute drive. Like, she could be the one, but that's 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, and then you be like, and I gotta go to Pigtown. Can't do it.
But like, you look at you know, I always look at New York as an example. Like, you might be in Queens and like you might meet a chick from Harlem, and that's like I think, you know, it's like an hour and 45 minutes on the train to get out there.
Yeah, but on the other hand, you know, like, look at all the stuff you can do on the way. You can grab an exotic food. You might see somebody pee on the train.
And here, all you see is some fiends, just like Walking Dead.
It's discouraging, you know. And again, like, I'm not, you know, I wouldn't say any of this to badmouth Baltimore. Like, Baltimore, that's my home, you know. But on the other end of that, you know, we haven't always played this out wisely, you know, with the city and, you know, using the city wisely, you know, like, especially, you for the artists.
It's available here. Like so many resources. Like, I mean, we have, like a lot of people don't realize about Baltimore. We have, like this is the perfect college town. Like, we have the most colleges here, like more than the majority of cities. We have MICA, like the Maryland Institute College of Art. Like, there's so many things that are going on here and there's so many different types of art that are like I guess crossbreeding and having an intersection to where it might be the generation after this generation that's happening now that might take full advantage of it, but it's like we can kind of be the start of it. But it's just like it's just crazy, and like I think people are getting out of that frame of you have to just do one thing. So like, when you were talking about and that's another thing I want to talk about is you're writing screenplays and things like that, and I wanted you to talk about that a little bit more.
Oh, well, screenplay, a song, if properly constructed, is even a stupid song or a song that people would be like, oh, well, that song was, deprecating or whatever. Either way, those songs still tell a story. Like, it's storytelling. It's basic storytelling. And screenplay stuff is basically writing a screenplay is the same process, but instead of 3 minutes, you have to make it 60 to 110 pages.
Mm-hmm.
With a solid beginning, middle, and end, and you're going to do about somewhere between 1 to 28 drafts. And because when it's all said and done, if realistically, like I look at it like this.
It's the same thing. It's the same process as a song.
Nah, it's not that. It's like if the only thing stopping you from making $100,000 is 24 drafts, you're not going to do it. Like, 'cause I would. I look at the numbers. You got a lot of cats out there who people be like they want to do, they want to be this or that, but they don't want to actually do the work to do it. You know what I mean? And it's a lot of work, and that, and I know that. Like, as artists, the more you try and make yourself like into a legit career, the more you appreciate people in the industry having legit careers, because you realize how much went into it. When I was, I'll be real about it. Like, when Future first came out, I didn't get him. I didn't get it. And you know why? Because I didn't get how it was put together. I didn't get why it was put together. I didn't get production. I didn't understand it, And because of, where I'm from and, how I was taught to believe, I was comfortable hating on him and didn't realize I was hating on him. I'm saying all this stuff like, well, he a bum, he whack, yada, yada, yada. I can't say that. Like Dirty Sprite 2 was awesome. Yeah. And that's not even something that's not even like my style. But in terms of... You have to appreciate
people when, like, the things that they do and it was like what they bring to the game and everything like that. Like, and that succinct way that he's able to do certain things.
Oh, yeah, definitely. One of the things I'm thinking, like, can we talk about this? How do I word this? Conscious black people who do music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because one of the issues I've been having with that too is like, conscious music, and I want to put that in quotes. Because you'll hear someone like, I'm conscious, I'm trying to give back to the community, and the first thing they say out of their mouth is something like overly sexually vulgar. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of conscious artists out there right now who are just as gross as anyone else. Only difference is they beats ain't as hot, and that's really where the problem is.
I mean, like bringing it back to Mos Def, he said on the song "The Questions" with Common Sense, he was like, just because I'm conscious, they say just because I'm intellectual, does that mean I don't have to be sexual?
Yeah, and but you listen to a lot of these folks now who be like, I'm all about black power, and then immediately the first thing they start talking about is either their penis or their vagina, and it's like, damn, bruh, we didn't even get 10 seconds of black power out of that. We got and I think that's crazy. It's like I always wanted to make music because I'm always thinking like like you brought up before heaven after suicide earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
The reason I wrote that is because I wanted to kill myself, like during the time that like I wrote that. Like it was actually a big suicide note. Like, you know, and you know, fortunately my niece was born and, you know, my life kind of changed from there. But you know, prior to that, you know, I was real bummed out. So I wrote it as a way to take the power out of how I was feeling. So hopefully somebody else going through that could take the power out of it on their own. You know,
if you don't mind me asking, what were you bummed out about?
Oh, it was a whole bunch of nonsense that probably wasn't even real issues. You know, when you're young, everything's bigger than it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but like at this point in my life, looking back, it's like, man, those problems were nothing. You know, it's a real problem. Trying to figure out how to get the $10,000 from like $900. That's a real problem. You know what I'm saying? Back
it's
then,
not even a problem. Like it's not even a problem. It's a game, and when you look at it as a game, that's when you're like, okay, how can I win?
Word.
Or trying to mix an album to 7.1 round sound.
Yeah, like
with headphones. With headphones.
With headphones.
Oh, with headphones. Shit.
What wound up happening was I would mix it in like my fiance's car, and because you know she has like an auxiliary port, then I would go take it to someone else's car, mix it in that car, the exact same song, mind you. Then I would go take it to a studio and mix it bigger. You know, so it's like
this is why I mess with you, because like I remember those times mixing a record. And, you know, just dealing with blank CDs, I used to buy packs of blank CDs because I would mix it in my headphones. I would be like, okay, it sounds good on the iPod. It sounds good on the MacBook speakers. Okay, let me burn it. Let me take it to the car, listen to it. You go to the car, you listen to it, you take your little notes like, okay, I need to cut this frequency. I need to do this, that. Bring it back and just going back and forth to the car, because that's like the car is like the ultimate, you know, like studio setting that you can get when you don't have any bread.
You know what's crazy about all that, though? I wound up, like, cheating the system dumb hard, though. Because I'm sitting there, you know, I've been working on all of this for, like, 12 months. I was like, I am so tired of hearing this. I was like, how can I make this a quick process? And, you know, I was online, you know, on YouTube, you know, rather than looking at bum fights. I was like, let's see if I can make this educational.
Right.
You know, and I hit a video, and this dude was like, nah, it's really just like 4 frequencies. If you take them out of your songs, it'll make mixing a lot easier for you. He was like, anything that's not bass, you take everything 100 hertz and below out of it. He's like, anything that's, you know, any vocals,
take 2K.
Nah, you don't take the 2K out the vocal. You take the 2K out the instruments. That way the vocal still stays, you know, crispy. You know, and it's like, and it's the type of thing where you would never even know that, because it's like nobody's talking about that. Like, you don't hear rappers like, turn the 2K down. Like, it never happened. It's like, but these things are like, you know, I wouldn't say they're like industry secrets, but it's just, you know, it's stuff.
It's science.
It's science and art, like back to back, you know, and people don't give that the due respect, you know, like, again, it's like now, you know, working on this as hard as I do, I understand, you know, why artists, like, I would be mad if someone, like, you know, bootleg my stuff, because, like, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, and I appreciate you, you know, sending the link and everything. You know, I pre-ordered it, and, you know, I got the joint officially. But,
man, shoot, I sent you the link because I wanted you to have a copy, because I considered you one of the people that I was working on it with. You know, and I don't like charging people I worked with, because I think that's silly. You know what I'm saying? Like, because like when we were sitting there, you know, in December when I was running the songs by you, you know, and I was like, just like the idea I got for it, you know, like those songs weren't set in stone yet. You know, I was looking at the reactions of the people in the room. It was like, cool. So if they heard this would be hot. All right, cool. We can do this song. You know, because I had 3 versions of each of those songs. Like, you know, some are like, I would always hit people with the one that's the most outlandish first and see how they respond. And if they thought the joint was dope, then that's the one they get. You know, it's like, then I go for the one that seems more club or more, you know, pop or whatever.
Yeah.
But, you know, if someone's like, dog, you wanted something, it's like, well, listen to them. Because people not going to actually tell you when you're onto something usually. So usually when someone says it, like, it's big. You know what I'm saying? Like, because everybody's got their own stuff going on, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I appreciate it. Now I'm going to use that $10 for lunch.
You know? Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, it's a whole nother, topic, but, I'd rather put, like the only music, the only music I buy is from people who I have been able to have a conversation. Not the only music, but, people that I feel like I, kind of know in a sense. We haven't had like a lot of conversations, but I know where you're coming from and everything like that, and I know where you're from because I'm from there too. And it's like a lot of the things that you say in your music I can relate to, and a lot of the things that you espouse, very similar. So I'm like, okay, I can put my money behind this, and I know it's gonna go to something, and at the very least, it'll add to something to get you up on some chart somewhere,
Oh, definitely. I appreciate it. Look, I look at it like this. Anyone who's willing to help you get out of your current situation is actually a friend of yours. Like, I feel like, one of the issues, especially like with rappers, like they start off with, a clique or whatever, but not everybody in it, like everybody in the clique, they, everybody still has their own goals. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, but what people need to find is they need to find a space where those things overlap and still lead to something beautiful.
That's hard to do, but when
it's
you
not
can find that,
it's not that hard.
Right.
It's
you
just,
think so?
I know so.
Yeah.
Like me and my homeboys, we managed to do it in Japan, and we wasn't even trying. Like, we did it on accident. And what happened was like, that's actually a weird story. Like, I was obsessed with this little Puerto Rican girl. And I started getting all in my feelings, like I was draking and driving before that was a thing. And, one day, like my homeboy, like I was going through it. My homeboy, like my best friend out there, he was deployed to Iraq. I was at, I wound up hanging out with the dude that lived down the hall from the Puerto Rican girl. And he was like, yeah, I rap. And I was like, all right, whatever. But then he spit something and it was good, and she had actually introduced me to a cat like 4 months prior to that. And he was like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. I just put together some stuff. I was like, well, you know what? I got a mic and I can write real fast. It was like, let's see what happens. We sat in my room for a straight 24-hour period. And I'm not lying to you when I say we walked out with 21 songs in 24 hours. And we pushed them. And we had shows and was selling shirts. We was doing party bus venues. Like we was going for it, And it wasn't because we was trying to be rappers or we was trying to be glamorous enough. And we were just really bored.
Yeah.
And it's like, I feel like people don't realize how bored they are.
I say it all the time. And, I saw something recently, relatively recently, a study. And basically, all of the free time that modern technology has afforded us, we spend that free time watching the television, and it's like, damn, like if we could put that extra free time into something that was more productive, then we could do something. But it's those people that do that are the ones that end up making something. When I go to work for 8 hours and I come home, like I'm working on podcasts, I'm working on music, I'm working on my rap stuff, I'm working on my club stuff, I'm working on this podcast, I'm working on like just to be working towards something is definitely something that's valuable that a lot of people don't get. And when you can find those types of people that are around you, that's definitely a good thing. But it's at least in my experience, it's not necessarily been difficult, but you have your bumps along the way with dealing with certain people.
Well, one of the hardest things in life is, like finding out who you need to know and who you don't need to know. We don't look at life like that, but we should. You know what I mean? Like I look at my life like I have a series of questions that I need answered, but I don't know the people who can answer them yet. Because it's like I would love to, know how to and have access to make like the Kanye West music structure work. I would love to have access to that. I don't. You know, it's like, but I'm sure like if I spend enough time working, I'll eventually be able to ask. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and I feel like people don't think about stuff like that. It's like, you know, like who you know now that could answer something you need to know to be the you want to be in 5 years. And if the answer is you don't know that person, that means you need to start looking. You know what I'm saying? So
that's what I think too. Like, we don't seek out mentors.
We don't seek out mentors because historically speaking, we ain't have leadership. Like, we're just now getting to a point where we starting to like be about something. Like, we're about something now. You know, like, think about it. We had a whole, 3 generations that was almost fatherless.
Right.
And now, we have generations now, finally, where we have single dads that's almost neck and neck with single moms that are both active in the children's lives. You know what I mean? So it's like the family hasn't stabilized, but the guidance is trying to come back. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So we're getting a rare opportunity, you know, to put a Band-Aid on this thing and be something in like 20, 30 years. You know, so we can't just squander it.
Right.
So it's like, you know, if we were smart, you know, we would use that, you know. And the reason we didn't have mentors is because we just didn't have mentors. Like, they weren't there. You know, I was fortunate enough, like when I was leaving Japan, like I was working on a project called Brace Day. Mm-hmm. It was like me celebrating my freedom from the military, you know. And I happened to get a mentor, you know, like in the last, I'd say 6 days I was there. And the one thing he says to me, he was like, you know, I wish I'd had more time with you. He was like, because had we been working together, he was like, you'd be at the next level already. And he was like, I'm sorry, I couldn't help. You know, and I'm like, dog, it's okay. Because when he met me, I knew he didn't like me. Like, he didn't even have to tell me. And, you know, he eventually told me. And I was like, I know. You know, you know, and I was okay with that. You know, because it's like, you know, I'm okay with not being liked, but what I'm not okay with is being the same me in 10 years. Like when, you know, I look at like, you know, black men, you know, this is something I don't think our music encourages, but I think it's something that our music properly documents. You know, we spent about 5 years at the exact same age. I want to say like 18 to 23, like we still just making 18-year-old mistakes, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that has to do with, you know, biology. Like, you know, they say your frontal lobe that's, like in your brain that's responsible for decision making doesn't completely form until you're like 24 years old, 24, 25, something like that. So it's like you're going to make certain decisions and things that you wouldn't make as a 30-year-old as you would as you're a 20-year-old. And, you know, unfortunately, our society doesn't allow, at least especially, you know, with black people, it doesn't allow for those types of mistakes to happen. So it's like you might not even be developed yet and you're still trying to find yourself, but you're dealing with a society and you're dealing with a situation that doesn't allow you to do that. And you know, if you're lucky enough, you're able to seek out opportunities to develop yourself, but not everybody has that.
That is very much true. And, you know, one of the things that's weird about that is not everybody does have it, but there's enough of us that have it that should do something with it, but still don't. You know, like, I didn't realize, like, you want to know what's crazy? Like, people have been telling me I'm smart my whole life. You know, that puts me at a disadvantage. Because I'll never feel I have to do research. I'll assume a lot more. It actually makes me more risky. Whereas someone who was told they were stupid but wasn't willing to accept that as truth could go on to be whatever they want, even stupid. You know, like... I
mean, that's the whole thing with ignorance is bliss. Like, you know, if you don't know anything, you're happy with the little bit that you get. But once you start to realize and know certain things, it's like, oh man, like with my experience, people been telling me I'm smart. I'm smart my whole life. I'm like, you don't know what smart is. Like, I'm nothing compared to some of the things that I've delved into. So if you think that I'm smart, it's just like, come on, like, and it goes back to, I don't know, like with me, I've kind of grown up in hip hop, and hip hop has always been my thing, and it's just like going back to the knowledge of certain things of how to advance yourself. To me, it's like, the same type of things that you would do to advance yourself in hip hop is the same type of things that you would do to advance yourself in life. So to go out and experience new things, like to take your art somewhere else, is the same thing to take your life somewhere else and develop it and grow it to where, a lot of people don't necessarily have that or see that. But
I agree.
That's just the way, and I hate to say that's just the way things are, but for some people, that's what makes them happy. And, it's like, as a smart person, like how you asked the question, do I deserve to be happy? And it's like, you look at, like, at least for me, I look at so many people and they appear to be so happy sometimes. Some of them I know they aren't necessarily happy, but I know some people that are really, really happy, but at the same time, I wouldn't want to be them.
Well, happiness is defined differently for different people.
Yeah.
Like, I know for me personally, like, I won't be happy till I know someone I love doesn't have to borrow money.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying like they need to be millionaires, but I need to know like people I love are alright. Like, cause then I can sleep at night. Like, I don't like having to talk to God and always having to ask for stuff. You know what I mean? Like, like I said, I want to have a more active role in my life and the lives around me, So it's like, and this is the only thing I'm good at, so this is the only way I can give to them.
Like when you say this is the only thing you're good at, what is this?
Making things. Like, there's some people who are natural shelf builders. There's some people who are natural fitness trainers. There's some people who are natural motivational speakers. I naturally just make stuff. Like, even right now, like while we've been doing this interview, I've been making a comic book cover for the pitch for the show that was supposed to be, pitching to this TV company in like a couple weeks. I've been sitting here because it's like, and this conversation's inspired me. Like, I'm making a black superhero because we need it.
Yeah.
Not even because I'm not even sure I would watch it. But we need it.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of black superheroes, and this is going off on a tangent. Let me look through my notebook. I've been like, what's crazy is, the more I've been writing things down, like I've been keeping like I'm very bad at keeping a journal, but I've been writing things down. And since I've started writing things down, I've like noticed my life improving. And there's some Nigerian superhero or something like that. Like they're starting to make like comic book type superheroes and stuff. And I've been trying to like really get into that. And it's just like a real tangent, but it, like what you just said, just reminded me of that. But trying to flip through my book and find the name of it.
Well, we know Hancock didn't work.
Hancock, hold on now. Hancock was a solid movie, but you have to look at the nuances to storytelling. Like a lot of it would have been weird, but you got to think of the mindset of something that doesn't belong somewhere, and then its own hero's journey. Now, was it enough to franchise? No, but
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, it was a good movie. The story was cool and made a lot of money, but it really didn't pop off the way a lot of I guess certain people in the black community thought it would.
I mean, Meteor Man was always my superhero.
He's too niggerish, man.
No, he wasn't. That was actually what made him great. There was nothing niggerish about him. Like, he was like, I'm a black person who wants to fix stuff. And we need more of those. Like, we just straight up do. You know, there's no other way to put it. You know, and it's like, we need a new Robert Townsend, you know, because he hasn't been active. You know, I would love to see that come out of Baltimore, especially, you know, since, you know, like, Baltimore's still an international hub. You know, it's just, when you're native to there, you don't have the tools to thrive there.
Yeah. And like, you know, it's the same thing, like, a lot of people from Baltimore have never been to the Walters. And it's like, you know, just being in D.C. a lot, you know, a lot of people who've been in D.C. have never been to the Smithsonian. And then, you know, growing up and going to New York, you know, every summer, you know, being in Queens, you know, if you're in Queens, it's very rare that you might go to Manhattan and, you know, see, you know, certain, like see certain type of things. So it's like, you know, when you're from somewhere, sometimes you don't appreciate the things that, you know, the place that you're from affords you, because you're just there and it's just regular, or it might not necessarily coincide with your regular day-to-day life. But if you want your regular day-to-day life to be different, then you have to go and do things that are different than your regular day-to-day life.
Definitely.
I'm trying to look for this.
That's one of the things that I think is cool, though. You know, it's like we're a group of people who, like, and this isn't, you know, Baltimore folks. This is just black folks in general. Like, we're a group of people who are brave and scared at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's like, the problem is we just don't know when to be which. You know, like, being brave, you know, in the face of a small problem means nothing, but being brave in the face of a big problem, you know, that changes things. That changes everything. You know, like, I'll give you an example. You know, like Kanye West, you know, he had just got evicted. He didn't even know he was evicted. Like, he was literally in his apartment so long making beats that, you know, he was basically like living off of just food he had already had in there if he was eating, because we all know how beat making gets.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And he was just sitting in there, you know, and his mother was like, well, you know, we're going to scrape up something and I'm going to just move you to New York. You know? And he had, you know, that was his chance. You know, that was his Krypton. You know, that was his chance to get off of there. You know what I'm saying? Like, but had he looked at that problem and been like, nah, you know what, I'm going to just continue working at the Gap, literally all black music at this point, you know, would sound completely different.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, so it's like, how do we, you know, we have to have this bravery, like, when something's failing, to not quit just because it's failing at that time.
Yeah, I definitely agree. That's why my favorite Kanye album is Jesus, to be honest. Like, that was my album of last year, 2014. I think that's when they came out. But just the sound was different for hip hop. It wasn't different for like the world, but it was different for hip hop. And I was appreciative of what he brought to other type of sounds and made it his own and everything like that. And I remember, you know, from College Dropout, I remember I had the bootleg in 2004, and that was a soundtrack to various experiences that I had. And then going to Yeezus, you know, 10 years later. Whoa, wow, that was 10 years later. Damn, I'm old. That was a soundtrack to new experiences. And a lot of people didn't appreciate it, but I was like, yo, he's doing something right now. And a lot of people don't see it. Like, they don't see it. But I guess that's what makes, you know, visionaries from people who don't see.
I know this is probably going to sound crazy, but realistically, we're all crazy till we're right.
Yeah.
So, you know, I can't even be mad. Like, I'm not going to get mad at someone doubting me. But what I would get mad at is someone doubting me when I'm actually doing the work. Like, this isn't me sitting around, you know, talking music. Like, yeah, you know, I'm a dude. But no, it's like I'm going to do this interview. And, Then tomorrow I'm going to be on set filming. Then the night after that, I'm going to be on set filming. Then the night after that, I'm going to go find somewhere to perform. And then Monday, I'm going to go find somewhere to perform. And then Tuesday, I'm going to spend some time with my fiance so, she don't feel neglected,
Yeah, that's
or I'm going to bring her with me when I go perform. You know what I'm saying? Because she a rider, and it's like, people don't realize, like, you need that, like, somebody has to be cheering from the stands because the rest of the world is booing, like, for real. And what happens is one day, out the blue, you just look around and somebody's feeling your stuff that wasn't before. Like I was saying earlier, like, somebody apologized to me. He apologized. It wasn't because he didn't, like, believe in my project. It was because, like, I'd asked him for help and he sat around and didn't help. Like, he didn't, want to be an active member of it. But then he heard it and realized he had made a mistake. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that was a different feeling because that's not what I wanted. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just wanted him to like the record. I'm not somebody out here trying to guilt people. You know what I mean? Like everybody don't gotta like everything. And everybody, don't gotta do things my way. But, when it came down to it, it would have took him, like, realistically, if I had help, it would have took me 4 months to get all of that finished. Yeah. But, hey, my plans and what actually happened are often very different.
Yeah. I mean, that's what happens with plans. You make the blueprint and they happen, they don't happen, but at least you made the plan for something to happen. But I guess, we're coming up on 2 hours right now. We should probably wrap this up a little bit.
It's a really long podcast.
Yeah. It's been a great conversation, though. I've enjoyed talking to you. And do you have anything, plug all your stuff right now?
Check out Before Heaven After Suicide on iTunes or Spotify. Check out Retro Future. It's worth the listen. I'm sorry. Check out #RetroFuture EP because that's the official name. I bought the hashtag. That way I own that too. Rappers out there, start buying the rights to your stuff. Especially if you're in Baltimore, figure out how to turn it into a business because we don't have industry there. And we can't keep selling drugs to our own and expecting to advance. So we have to find a new way of industry there. So whatever talents you have, even if it's just putting together a staircase, figure out how to make that work and figure out how to make it work for the people around you. The rest of the projects I'm working on, I really can't talk about because of non-disclosure agreements. But no, that's good news. Like, not being able to talk is good news when you're making stuff because that means you got shit going on. So that's a good thing. I ain't tripping. Zach, thanks for putting me on, man. I really do appreciate it. I know you didn't have to. And I think that's very courteous of you to extend that out. So y'all show him some love and keep tuning back in. He'll keep bringing y'all better and better interviews, better music.
No doubt. And, anytime you have anything to say, you're always welcome. Anytime you have anything to plug, whatever, this is your home here. Channel 10 podcast and all of that. You can follow us, channel10.com, all our social media right there. If you want to plug your social media, where people can follow you and get into what you're getting into, iTunes, Twitter, Amazon, it's all on there. Go ahead.
Will do.
So we're here. Anytime you have anything to promote, we'll blast it out on Twitter and everything like that. We have a lot of interviews coming through the pike, but this will probably be coming through probably sometime in September. So it'll hopefully add to your sales and all of that. And we definitely appreciate you coming through and gracing our platform. Anytime you want to come back, just let us know.
Oh, most definitely, man. Thank you. We should have one of those episodes like, you know how like the old white guy calling a radio station and you know my problem is that you know like we should definitely have one of those, man. I would love to be a part of that, man.
No doubt, man. We gonna work it out, and I definitely look forward to working with you in the future. So yeah, we definitely gonna work it out. So Channel 10 podcast and all of that. Channel10podcast.com, Channel 10 on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you are, we are. And check out Brace Saga on everything, and make sure you purchase it. Put some money back into your community for somebody who actually cares and who's actually doing something, is actually inspiring people that are around you to do something, and the younger people who are coming up to do something to make the world a better place, and all that positivity and all that corny stuff. And
I mean, it don't got to be better. It's just got to be cost effective. I would really like $6 the stretch. That's all I'm saying. That's my white people rant for the day.
So $6. You got $6. Send that in. PayPal or however you got it. Send it in. It's gonna go to something. So yeah, Channel 10 podcast. We out. Peace.
Late.
Feeling this here.
Yeah, son, you feel it, man. Word up, son. You gotta just do it, yo. Yo, word up, man. It's a different channel, son. Word up, on, man. Word up, watch the channel, son. Different plane now, man.
It's all good.
Word up, all good, baby, in every hood, son. Word up, yo. CNN, Network, Channel 10. It's on again. Street niggas, it's grown men. Bold face, get in your face. Stay in place, yo, crime lace. Cats more beef than Scarface.